Thank you for tuning into Literary Blend, a publishing podcast. I'm your host, Demi Michelle Schwartz. There's no perfect recipe for chasing a dream in the publishing industry, but I hope the conversations on this show give you the ingredients you need to bake yours into reality. So let's flip the page and get into this chapter of Literary Blend. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Literary Blend. Today's chapter is Patience in Traditional Publishing, and joining me on the show to cover this topic is one of my author friends, Megan Murphy. Hey, Megan.
Hey, Demi, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to have you on the show for this chat because you actually suggested this topic, and I can't wait to get into it with you. But before we do that, I would love for you to share a little about yourself and your author journey so far.
Sure. So, like you said, Demi, my name is Megan Murphy. I am a romance author based out of Kentucky. I wrote my first book in June of 2021. So, not quite a COVID book, but almost. And then I signed with my wonderful agent, Rebecca Finch, from Darley Anderson in last spring. So, like April, May of 23. And we went on sub in September.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited for you. I was thrilled when you got your offer and your big tweeting. It was a fun time.
I know. I loved it. It's so fun to have secrets.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know. And we will definitely chat more about keeping secrets later in the episode with the whole patience thing. So speaking of patience, before we dive into it specifically with publishing, I would like to talk in general about patience. So, do you consider yourself to be a patient person or no?
I it's funny that you asked that specific question because I did consider myself a patient person until I tried to publish a book.
Wow. Okay, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. I have never been a patient person, and so when I started querying, it was very difficult, but it was funny because I started querying in July of 2022, and I realized right away how I had to be more patient if I even wanted to pursue traditional publishing because it doesn't stop. Once you get an agent, you still have to be patient for many things, and I knew it was a lesson I needed to learn and fast. And so
Oh
I
yeah.
actually made patience my word of 2023.
Oh, I
And
love that.
yeah, so I can tell, like, now we're in a new year, 2024 here. I am definitely more patient. And I think it's because I was focusing so much on it and I knew I had to develop that personal quality. And so I have become more patient because of the publishing process so far.
I think it's funny that you said the word develop. I think that's the key. It's something that I have to, if I'm not thinking about it and I just like get in a media spiral or like doom scroll late in the night and I see all these other flashy offers and announcements, that's when I start to kind of become more impatient. And so I have to kind of pull back and develop and like focus in on like it's a conscious choice, I think, for some people and especially in this industry.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you're exactly right. Whenever you see those announcements, it's so exciting. I love when authors are announcing things. I love supporting everybody. But you're right, it does take a little bit of a toll. Like you lose your patience a little bit. When will it be my turn? When will it be my turn? I remember like when I was querying, like when I would see offer tweets and things, it was difficult, but it was also very exciting because I always reminded myself if it happened for somebody else, it could happen for me, and it did for both of us. And so I think like being patient, a lot of it has to do with recognizing that everybody is on their own path. And whenever somebody else gets some kind of success point that you've been hoping for, that in no way takes away from your journey. We are all on our own paths. And so remembering that and being patient with the publishing journey you are on because it's unique to you is definitely something that I think we all can remember. It's definitely something I try to work on very often. So, one thing with publishing is that it moves so slow, like slow, slow, slow. So, you have to be patient. So, for you, like when you were querying and now on sub, like there's so much waiting. How do you go about dealing with that waiting and developing your patience?
I think it's really helpful to have hobbies outside of, checking your email 5,000 times a day,
It
or
is a hobby.
stalking or stalking agents or editors on Twitter. I think it's very important to have hobbies outside of of writing and craft to distract from that. I also would say it's very helpful to have friends both inside and outside the publishing community. The friends inside the publishing community, like you and me, like we get it. We know what's going on. We know what it feels like to wait, to want that thing that you've wanted your entire life and not be able to have it yet. But the friends outside of the publishing community, I think, are a really good distraction. They can take your mind off of it. They just let you think about other things. They kind of, recenter you uh, from, just constant consumption of media, and um, they just really help to ground me personally.
Yeah, no, really great. I love those too. And you're exactly right about having friends in publishing and outside of publishing because the friends in the industry, they understand it, they get it. The ones outside of publishing, you can tell them, "Hey, like I got an agent," and then they'll ask you, "Oh, when does your book come out?" And it's like, "I don't know."
I,
So
yeah,
yeah.
when I told my brother that I had an agent, he was like, "Oh, so your book's going to be out in like 6 months?" Like, "Oh, you sweet summer child. That is in no way, shape, or form a remote possibility."
Yeah, no, it's really funny how like people like from the outside looking in, they do not understand it. They don't. But you're right. It's really great to have that distraction with talking to them about other things because if they don't understand it, you don't want to go on major tangents. Well, sometimes I do, but talking about other things about life and other things that have nothing to do with publishing. And your other point about having hobbies outside of writing and things like that, I completely agree with that. I'm also a songwriter and recording artist. And so I love being able to return to my music, especially when the publishing stuff gets distracting and difficult and things like that. And for me, like, because I'm an independent artist, I am completely in control of everything. And that's something I like so much because as being an agented author, like going traditional, I don't have 100% freedom and control with my music I do.
Hmm.
And so I really like that balance because I can control what songs I'm writing, when I'm releasing them, when am I doing interviews, when am I recording. And it's nice to have control in that aspect of my life with which makes publishing a little easier with the patients.
Yeah,
And one other thing that I will add too is that something else that helps me become more patient is to be working on a different project than the one that's
yeah,
querying when I was querying or now like on submission, things like that. Having another project to distract myself is extremely
absolutely.
helpful and it's
Yeah,
fun because as writers like we're always going to be writing no matter what's going on with our books
yeah,
that are out there and so I think it's really important to have another project going because you will need one eventually and it's a nice distraction.
absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. And I would say, for any newbies out there, something like you said, different. Not if you're writing a trilogy, it's not going to be book two. It's going to be another book one
Yes.
somewhere down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, no, really great point. And that's the thing, like I am keeping my fingers crossed that my book gets picked up and they want it to be like a duology or something because I have a whole sequel planned, but I'm not gonna write it yet because I don't want to put all my eggs in the basket.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, writing something new that has nothing to do with the other project is a really, really good point.
yeah. And you'll continue to grow. Like the more you write and the more you continue to like read in your genre and read outside your genre, you'll continue to grow that skill. And so, if you are querying and this first book doesn't get an agent or an offer, that second book will be that much stronger for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and really great point about, in your genre, out of your genre, that kind of thing. Because when I started querying, I queried a young adult mystery and then a young adult speculative thriller. And then I got this urge to write a fantasy. I've never written a fantasy, not even close to one before. And that's the one that got me my agent. And
Oh,
so
that's so cool.
yeah, I know. And so it's crazy because when you have like that book, like I went into it as this is going to be a fun project. I'd never done this before. It's going to be a fun experiment, blah, blah. And look what it turned into. And so I think it's really a great point to look at these other projects as things that can be like great and hold potential, but you don't need to be so locked down with a genre that you had already written or a certain style or whatever. You can be a little more free with that and allow yourself to
Yeah,
have fun because finding ways to have fun along the way is really, really important.
absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. So speaking of the writing, this is a nice transition into another point I wanted to talk about when it comes to patience, and that is being patient with the writing process. I don't know about you, but when you have an idea, it's like, oh, I wish this book was done and perfect and all that. But you have to draft it. Then you need to get feedback and apply the feedback and do a bunch of revisions. And I found like the best way to become patient with the writing process for me personally is to find ways of enjoying the process and keeping the mindset that once this is done, I'm going to look back and think, oh, wow, I did all of this work and that got me here. And
Yeah,
enjoying the journey is a really big thing for me. And so that's a
yeah.
way that helps me be patient when I'm stuck on a chapter and don't know what to do, or if I'm doing revisions and it's taking years.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can write a book in about 3 months, and in the span of, you know, a year, that's nothing. So I just try to think about it like that, and, life gets in the way sometimes. I've got a dog, I have a spouse, I have a whole other career. I have family and friends, and I don't want to make this my whole life, especially if I do plan to have a career in this in the future. I want to still leave space for life itself. And so when I'm getting a little frustrated with how long it seems to be taking or revisions, I just kind of remember that it's temporary. I'm gonna get through it. I've done it how many other times now? 5 or 6 other times that I've finished a book, and I've felt so frustrated with them all in the middle, right, right around the 35-40% mark. I've hated them all, and I've still finished them all.
Yeah. No, that's a really great point, and a lot of great points actually about life getting in the way, especially when you set personal deadlines. Me too. I'm so hard on myself when I miss deadlines, but life happens, and that just comes down to being patient with ourselves. We're humans. We have other parts of
Yeah,
our lives, and our lives aren't all about writing all the time, and things happen, and sometimes we need to be more patient with ourselves and not be hard on ourselves, which is a lesson I really got to learn because I'm always hard on myself. But that's a really,
yeah,
really, really great point. The other thing too is what you said about doing it before so you can do it again. That's a really great mindset because like you, I've written several, I think, yeah, I wrote four. The fourth one is still like being revised, but it's that situation where you get to a point where you start to have all of those self doubts, which we all face very often. And like you said, looking back and saying, okay, I did this before, I can do it again, is a really great mindset to have because you can look back at your work and it's proved that you can do this. And sometimes we
yeah.
get in our heads and think we can't, and we definitely can. So finding a way to push through that self doubt and that frustration and coming out on the other side, it's really great too because I love when I can sit there and look at my work and be like, I did this. I'm so proud of myself. I did this. And knowing that I would feel that way when I finish a story or a full manuscript, whatever I'm working on, it's really motivating for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times, when doing revisions with my agent and going on sub, I just got to look back and be like, I made this story. Like I created this from nothing. I have these characters and I had this idea and I built this world and people are reading it and loving it and more readers, across the country and across the world are going to read it one day and it's insane.
Yeah, and
And
it's
so
really
if I have that
exciting.
mindset, yeah, and if I have that mindset every time I would never self-doubt again, it would be perfect.
No, yeah. No, that's a really great point too. Like, you have to recognize that all the work that we are putting in, it has the potential to be read by thousands of readers potentially one day. And that is just so exciting for me. And that's the dream. We all want to be published. We all want to see readers posting pictures like, oh my gosh, I got the book, or like making fan art and
Yeah,
stuff like that. That's the dream. And so
yeah,
going back to the patience thing, we have to be patient because if we weren't, we would have given up by now, which neither one of us had given up right now. We're still
yeah,
going, and that dream is still possible of readers reading our book one day and finding ways to be patient for that to come. It will be worth it. I know, like, and I'm sure you felt this way too. When you were querying and when I was querying, it was like, God, like, I will never get an agent. This will never happen, and blah, 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 blah. And then when you do it, it's like, man, like all the blood, sweat, and tears, literally, like waiting for this, the patience,
yeah,
it paid off and it will continue to pay off.
yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you say, like, "This is never gonna happen to me." So I think I had sent my final query. Like I was done. And I know everybody says this. I was done. I was not sending queries anymore. I had decided like this is my last one. I'm gonna send it off end of the year. I'm gonna self-publish. I was like, I can't do I can't do this anymore. And then like 2 weeks later, I got the email. So I
Yeah.
should have just been a little more patient.
Yeah, and that just goes to show too that you never know when things are going to happen. You know what I mean? And
Oh yeah.
that's like an enjoyment thrill for me because I love like the anticipation, and as a thriller author, like I love suspense, and like when it's in my own life, maybe not so much, but like I'm trying to find ways of enjoying the ride.
Oh,
And
that's a good point.
the whole thing about like it happening unexpectedly, like literally, I was in Nashville for music awards and I woke up that morning and I got a query rejection, and it just like messed my head up because like I was there for music awards, I was really excited, and this just like completely made me sad, like on the morning of the award show. Okay, so then I go to breakfast, come back to the hotel room, literally about to leave for like a red carpet event, and Michelle, my now agent, she requested my full manuscript, and I was like, oh my goodness, so I sent it to her. Before I left for the award show because I was really excited and I didn't want to make her wait, so I sent it to her. And 3 days later, she, like, emails me to set up the call, and I was like before I opened the email, my mindset was like, "There's no way," because it was so soon, it was 3 days, there's no way. She, like, stopped in the middle, she's
Oh yeah,
rejecting me,
yeah.
that's definitely what's happening, and then it wasn't, and that was just, like,
Yeah.
so unexpected. Like, when I'm in Nashville for music awards, the last thing I'm thinking about is like, "Oh, am I gonna get the full request from the agent that's gonna be my agent?" Like, no, and so I think, like, enjoying the ride and not expecting things and just letting them happen how they're supposed to happen is a big part of it too.
I love that. I have a post-it note that I taped onto my computer the morning of our call. It says, "What's meant for me will come to me." Um,
Aw.
I know, and I just love that. It's that same thing. It's like it's not gonna pass you by if it's what's supposed to happen.
Oh, I love that so much, I love that. Fabulous. So now let's talk about keeping secrets. Vague tweets, keeping secrets. Oh my gosh, I suck at secrets, literally. Like, I always need to drop vague hints because I can't keep my mouth shut. And I guarantee you, like, whenever the book contract comes and I really need to keep my mouth shut, it's going to drive me crazy.
It is so funny that you say that, Demi, because I this morning got a very vague email that I am keeping a secret now.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. I got one recently too for not manuscript book related, but like short story related. And man, like even like the small things, and not really small things, because I've never like gotten an email like that one before. And so it's
Right.
like super exciting, and I just want to share the news. It's the sharing the news thing and not being able
Yeah.
to is crazy.
I was like, all day I've been like on Instagram or Twitter, and I'm like, why is nobody else freaking out? And then I'm like, oh, because nobody else knows. Calm down a little bit.
That's so funny. I love it. I love it. So, just to wrap up on the patience side of things, for any authors who are really, really struggling to be patient, whether they are drafting their first novel or querying or on sub or have a book deal and have to keep their mouth shut, what advice would you give them?
I would say for me, the biggest tip that I have is really examine where your impatience and your insecurities are coming from. So if you log on to, let's call it Twitter, and the same two people always make you feel less than, maybe you need to remove those people from your life. Or maybe it's not any two certain people, maybe it's the community in general. I think it's perfectly acceptable to log off. Just really try to protect your mental health in any way that you can. And remember that it will come if it's meant to come and when it's meant to come. And the joy is in the journey.
Yeah, I love that. The joy is definitely in the journey. And I love how you brought up the mental health side of things too, because there have definitely been moments like I love being active on Twitter. I'm always there. I love interacting with others in the writing community because I think like we were talking about at the beginning, having friends in the industry and having that support system and being part of the community is one of the most special parts of this whole process. You're sharing things with people and others are in the same boat and all of that. But there are days where things get difficult, not only with seeing announcements and being like, "Oh, I wish that was me," like that kind of thing, or being impatient with your own journey, but also like drama happens a lot too.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
found like it that out of everything, that's what really messes with my head a lot. Like not really the announcements because I'm definitely in a place where like I'm happy for people when it doesn't really get to a place with me of like jealousy or that kind of thing because I'm not
Mhm.
really like that. But what really gets to me is the drama, and that's what I kind of need to separate myself from. So, just whatever the situation, I think recognizing, and that's being patient with ourselves too, recognizing what you can
Yeah.
handle, recognize
Yeah.
your mental health, and also like burnout. If you're working on your manuscript and you're burned out, but you want to get it done, just take a step back. And because the other thing too is when you push through it, when you're not in a good headspace and you're pushing through that, you're not going to do your best work. At least I don't. And
No,
so,
yeah.
finding ways to respect yourself and take care of yourself, show yourself self-love too. I think that's a really important part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, wow, what a wonderful chat about patience. This has been fantastic. I've loved having you on the show, but that just brings us to one of my favorite parts of the show, which is the plot twist.
Ooh. I didn't know about this. I guess that's why it's called a plot twist.
So, as authors and readers, we love plot twists. And so, I'm going to ask you a question that you could have never seen coming. Are you ready?
Oh, oh gosh. I guess so.
So, in the publishing industry, there are many acronyms that people outside of publishing would have no idea what they mean. Like WIP is work in progress, MSWL, manuscript wish list, and so on. So,
Yeah.
Megan, if you could invent an acronym, what would the letters be and what would they stand for?
Oh, goodness gracious. Um, wow. Uh,
Do, do,
I know,
do,
right?
do.
Um, I honestly, this is gonna sound so lame. The only thing that is coming to mind since I've been put on the spot, um, ILB, which stands for I love books.
I love it. All right, so everyone listening, ILB, All Love Books, is officially a new publishing industry acronym, so tell all your friends. And make sure to
Yeah.
credit Megan.
Because why else are we doing this if we don't love
Right.
books?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, like, that's the thing. As authors, as readers, we love books, and we would not be having to be so patient and go through all of the things if we didn't love books. I think coming back to our love for books and reminding ourselves why we're doing this in the first place, why we're pursuing traditional publishing, or for anyone who's doing, indie press or self publishing, it's the same thing. You love books and there will be obstacles and hurdles no matter what. And so I think reminding ourselves of our passion for our craft is huge. Well, Megan, it was truly a delight having you on the show. Could you please share with everyone where they can connect with you online?
Yes, absolutely. I am on all platforms at Meg Murphy Writes. So Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, but it's really scary over there. So Twitter and Instagram are the perfect platforms if you want to stay in touch.
Yeah. Well, how is TikTok? I'm not on there yet.
It is really scary. And I had a maybe like a handful, 4 or 5 that had Taylor Swift songs, but they just removed them because there's like copyright issues.
Oh,
And
wow.
so and so now they're just soundless.
That's wild. Okay, so story about that real quick. So I obviously have my own music, being a songwriter and
Mhm.
stuff, and I have literally like this isn't even exaggerated. I have posted videos on Twitter and Instagram with my own song and got like flagged for copyright and got taken down. I'm like, this is literally my song. I own this. I wrote it. I own the master. Why are you taking it down? But it's wild to me because I guess there's no way for the platforms to know. But I think it's
Right.
so funny that, like, I'm logging on, it's like, "Your post has been deleted for copyright infringement." I'm like, "Yeah, that's my song. Believe me, I'm not copywriting myself. This is
Right. How
my
dare you?
song."
That's wild.
Wow. Well, on that note, Megan, thank you so much again for joining me.
Absolutely. It was a joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And listeners, that is a wrap. So I hope you enjoyed this chapter of Literary Blend with Megan, all about patience in traditional publishing. If you enjoyed our conversation, please consider leaving Literary Blend a review and giving it 5 stars to help others just like you discover it. Also, if you have friends in the publishing industry you think would be interested in the show, please pass it along to them as well. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading and writing.